So the next 5 photos I'm sharing with you are brought to you by Extreme Travel. They're brought to you by Chasing 193. And what I mean by that, I probably would have never have gone to any of these places unless I had the catalyst, the mechanism of Chasing 193 to force me to go to some more remote, challenging places. Best landscape for me, the Pamir Highway. It's a 1,500-kilometer drive from Osh, Kyrgyzstan to Dushanbe, Tajikistan. You trace the border of China and Afghanistan. Beautiful mountains. You'll have passes over 4,500 meters. It's like a week drive. It's absolutely stunning and fantastic. Best sporting event, Buzkashi. Anybody like this? So this photo is from Mazi Sharif in Afghanistan. And this is an ancient sport from Central Asia. Goes back over 1,000 years old. It's sort of like modern day polo, except one major difference. The ball in this sport is the dead carcass of a goat that might weigh 60 kilograms. So the goal is to grab the carcass off the ground and with your horse speed to the other side to score on your competitor's goal. I was here in Mazi Sharif. It's on a Friday after noon prayers in the mosque. All the men, scores and scores of men, gather on this giant lot, and for fun, they play this for several hours. Was amazing to watch. This is an experience I never would have dreamed of having. I grew up under Reagan in the US, the evil empire. No one vacationed in the Soviet Union. Well, this is the largest cosmodrome in the world. It's called Baikonur. It's a space base, opened up in the 1950s during the space race with the US. And this is one of the most famous pieces of history in space history. This is called Gagarin Start. The first man that went to outer space in 1961, Yuri Gagarin, took off from this landing pad. So I had this amazing experience for 5 days where I went to watch a manned spacecraft take off at this Russian space base at Baikonur. My best musical experience, here I am in Burundi. Brought to you by Chasing 193. I didn't want to go to Burundi. It's a small country in East Africa. They've had genocide, abject poverty. I didn't really know anything about the country. I wasn't looking forward to visiting. But my guide brought me here. It was a small village on a small hill, an open field. And for over an hour, just for me, I was the only person there. These 25 musicians put on a magical performance, which I would have never have seen without Chasing 193. And I think last up, but this is, photo's a little hard to see, you can focus on this. Another country that I probably wouldn't be that excited about visiting is Chad. So East Africa. But due to social media, I was excited because I saw dozens and dozens of my friends going to Chad to this festival. This is the Jerawal Festival held in Chad, Niger, and these are the Wodabi people. The Wodabi are semi-nomadic people, and they get together at the end of the rainy season, and they put on this event, the Jerawal. It's a matchmaking ceremony. So, FYI, these are all men. They spend the day putting on makeup. They spend the day putting on jewelry and dresses. And starting in the afternoon, all the way to the next morning, they sing, dance, and perform for the women who have the option to choose their mate. So, thank you for listening, and I'm going to bring up my next friend and fellow panelist. Come on up, Shagg.
I'll introduce you to myself a little bit here. So you probably are wondering where am I from. My ethnicity is Japanese. So I was born and raised in the US, but My blood is Japanese. My background was investing, so I was investing in the equity markets for about 20 years, managing global portfolios, which entailed a lot of travel as well as residing in most of the major regions. So I lived in Tokyo, Hong Kong, London, and the US for quite some time each. 193 was never really my ambition. It was one of those things that kind of crept up on me. In the age group demographic of the people that I completed, I was somewhere in the middle. So I got to about 120, I think it was, just thinking that I would want to slow travel to places, spend 3 months in a place, get to understand what it was like not being a tourist there, but actually living there and understanding the culture and how people worked. But as I got past around 120, it struck me that, wow, 193 was was doable. And that changed things a little bit. And I think it brought out more of a competitive nature of trying to achieve something and putting a goal forward. So that took me on to 120, and it's accelerated kind of my ambition to visit countries that I'd never been to before. And that took place probably over the last, say, 6-7 years or so. Other passions I have, I sprint in master sprint, so I competitively race other older people, basically, in Masters track. I was, not listed here, but 7th in the world in the 100-meter when I turned 50. So we all travel for different reasons, I think. I think the biggest one for me is really to broaden our perspective. So I very much enjoy the idea of seeing something that I've never seen before, experiencing something I've never experienced before, and to broaden our perspective. I also, again, like challenges and like goals and overcoming obstacles. And so I don't know if many of you have heard of the Misogi challenge, but the Misogi challenge is the idea that once a year you should try and do something that you have less than a 50% chance of completing, and that will not kill you, but will challenge you. And I look at certainly the aspiration to go after 193 is exactly that. So within these 5 pictures, I've tried to list some of the things that I think entail my reason why I travel. And one was overcoming obstacles, that Misogi challenge idea. And the South Pole was certainly encapsulated a lot of that. It was a lot of distance, a lot of money. It was extreme cold. It was altitude, things that you don't necessarily think about. You're flying in planes that don't have any oxygen balancing yourself. So for a person that doesn't do well at altitude, that wasn't so easy as well. And then there's the element of challenge, or the element of trying to hit 193, which takes you to places maybe that you didn't really need to go to. And as I thought about that, I wanted to make sure that we didn't make it sound like every single country was wonderful and inspirational or broaden your perspective. And this is Nauru. So Nauru takes you about 25 minutes to circumnavigate in a car. When we arrived, it happened to be Easter, so everything was closed except for the grocery store, which had about 30 minutes left open before it closed as well. We were holed up pretty much in a very simple motel. And a day and a half later, 2 days later, we were off because the planes don't fly every day to Nauru, it seems like. So that was just because. And as I said, perspective perspective broadening is a lot of what I travel for. And for me, Ethiopia was just that. It was, if you haven't been, it's an incredible country which has such a diverse array of things to see and experience. And this happens to be down in the Omo Valley during the festival where the men become men, and that ceremony is something that you just have never seen before, where the boys that are becoming men have to whip the women in their family with basically these switches that they've carved all week, and like life-lasting kind of scars for the women. They have to jump over the cows, with the number of cows that they actually jump successfully over being a sign of their wealth and success as well. You had Lalibela up in the north with their rock-carved churches. You had ongoing battles even across borders between various tribes. It was just something that, I remember when my wife and I were traveling in a van, just getting from one location to the other, and she had several extra empty plastic bottles that she had amassed from drinking water, etc. And we asked the guide, what should we do with those? And he said, throw them out the window. And my wife's like, throw them out the window? I'm not going to throw them out the window. And he goes, no, just throw them out the window. It'll be fine. So sure enough, we're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just, savanna on both sides. And she throws it out the window. And sure enough, within seconds, there's people scrambling to get those plastic bottles. It was meaningful for them to be able to use those. So to me, again, perspective changing is a lot about what I travel for. And Ethiopia is certainly one of those. And one of a kind, this is Papua New Guinea. And if you haven't been, you've never seen anything like it. You hear about, obviously, the stories about them living as cannibals in the past, but I have friends that have been there and been, held either at gunpoint or knife point, or been attacked or people attacking them with machetes to try and steal, or having to escape their camp early because of that. So, but then on the other hand, you have these amazing wardrobes and dances that they do, and an incredibly deep culture that you get exposed to and interact with. There's several places that we go to a lot, but and I don't know if it's just home bias because I'm Japanese and my wife is Thai, but those are my two countries that I forever will always want to go back to. I'm sure most of you have been to Japan as well, and it's for those the reasons that you would find obvious: the depth, the breadth, and just how different it is from a Western perspective of how they live life and their values.
Oh.
Sorry, thank you.
I am Russian American, so I was born in Russia, but I moved to the US at a very young age. Kind of did a bit of a back and forth because of a family situation, divorced parents. So kind of bicultural upbringing. I am a teacher here in Bangkok, but I started back in New York. Taught for 11 years there. I do have a daughter. She's 9 years old, and she has already been to 66 countries. She has a crazy mom dragging her all over the world. Easier to bring her with than to leave her back. I started traveling just because I wanted to see as many places as I could, and I didn't really think that visiting every single country was possible. It was just more of like, oh, I just want to see this place and this place and this place. And when I went to Antarctica in 2021, I met up with Ildi Zaba. She is the first Hungarian to visit every single country. And I, of course, was skeptical. I'm like, how is it possible? You went to like Yemen and Afghanistan. She's like, yeah, it's possible. So that's when it kind of put something in my head like, okay, well, now I want to visit every country in the world because it is possible to do so. So at that point, I was already at 152. So I have visited majority of the world at that point, but just kind of slowed down, especially had a child, it was COVID, and in the previous 5 years, I've only probably been to 1 or 2 new ones. And so a lot of my travel really picked up after 2021. So currently I'm at 188 UN. I have 5 left. They're all in Africa, central-ish. I like sunsets and waterfalls. That's kind of like my MO. If there's a place where I can see that, I have decided to visit the 193. So this is Afghanistan, Bamyan. I went to Afghanistan just because I wanted to finish off the 193, but this is one of my favorite places. I did not expect such a landscape there. This is in Bamyan. So yes, like Rick said, I would not have seen this if I have not had the goal of 193. This is Las Gale in Somaliland. These are kind of hard to see, but the rock paintings, yes. They're about 20,000 years old. I remember seeing this picture in my textbook when I was in school, and I thought this was really cool to see. kind of on par with the terracotta warriors, because that's also something you see in a textbook, and then when you see it in real life, it's like, okay, this is awesome. But because I went to China before I decided to do the 193, this was kind of more awesome. This is the Mundari camp in South Sudan. That went there this past summer. Kind of being around all those animals makes you feel kind of really small and vulnerable, and it was very, surreal, like this captured a National Geographic moment. And this is Socotra Island, which politically belongs to Yemen. Again, would not have visited it if I have not wanted to go to 193. This is the last photo. Oh. And I'm into kind of ancient history. I always go to all the ruins. This is in Libya, and also went there, I guess, last summer. This is one of the most preserved and ancient cities that I've been to, so I think, the Colosseum, but more preserved and less people and no lines, and you have the whole place to yourself. I think this is it. Thank you.
This was a complete diversion. So really put the humanity and the wonder of travel, the broader perspective. Thank you very much. It's great. I've got several questions actually, but I'll just open it up to the floor. I'm sure a lot of people have a few questions. I'll probably just ask mine along